Aston Martin left a lasting impression throughout the 3 days of testing in Bahrain, with Fernando Alonso displaying plenty of speed and reliability behind the wheel of the AMR23. The consensus among the teams is that Aston Martin has improved significantly from their position from the previous year and may even challenge for the podium, despite the fact that testing times are notoriously not entirely indicative of exactly where the teams stand in the pecking order. Even Red Bull team owner Christian Horner stated that Alonso came off the line looking very competitive. So, should we take all the hype surrounding Aston Martin's Bahrain performance seriously, or are we about to get a reality check? Let's dive deep and find out. The headline results from the 3 days in Bahrain weren't particularly impressive. The team finished 7th fastest and ran a respectable number of laps, so the hype originates from somewhere else. It is the car's behavior on track, the incredibly impressive long run on the final day, and the perception that star signing Fernando Alonso is enthusiastic about what might be possible this season are what caused people to speak so highly of the AMR23. The most aggressively positive interpretation of Aston Martin's test is that it may be starting clear of the midfield and as a serious threat to 2 of the established Big 3 teams. Raw, long-run analysis even suggests Aston Martin was a couple of tenths faster than Mercedes, and on par with Ferrari, although team boss Mike Crack was keen to play that down, saying, "The race simulation was certainly not bad, but we must also not forget that the track conditions were really good. You had a lot of rubber because there were other teams using new tires a lot of times, also with soft rubber, and this is helping when you do a race simulation. So again, it is nice to have good long runs, but still you need to really put them into the right context. And let's not start dreaming." Fernando said it, there are no miracles in Formula 1. Yes, but a high-performing Aston Martin wouldn't be a miracle. The team has under-delivered in the last couple of years, and its new approach for 2023 is the first car blessed by the touch of Red Bull recruit Dan Follows. Therefore, Aston Martin had the greatest opportunity of any team to take a big step towards the front runners. That, combined with McLaren being lost at sea, Mercedes having a confused couple of days, and Alpine looking somewhat enigmatic, adds up to at least a plausible set of circumstances in which Aston Martin could genuinely leap from 7th in the championship one year to being talked about as a top 3 candidate, at least at the start of the season. However, given their larger resources and the fact that they're starting with a better 2022 car, those teams, particularly the biggest ones like Ferrari and Mercedes, might have more room to grow. Maybe the stark reality is that the Aston Martin is just closer to reaching its full potential compared to some other teams. It undoubtedly had more rounded edges than the Mercedes, and it seemed Ferrari had some gremlins to circumvent as well, although the AMR23 also had its moments. But whatever the reality of the situation may be, Fernando Alonso spoke somewhat in contrast to the team's management, as the 2-time world champion believes he could end up right among the frontrunners if his full race simulation on Saturday was anything to go by. After testing, Alonso expressed confidence in the team's long-term pace while speaking at the Aston Martin promotional event, saying, "On the last test day, for example, we did a race simulation. Then we did 57 laps, the same thing we're going to do in the Grand Prix. We put fuel in for those 57 laps and did the full race with the full step-up, even changing tires. At the same time, Ferrari were doing the same program as us with the same fuel for the race, same stops, and we were slightly faster." There is a chance Alonso will have reserve driver Felipe Drugovich alongside him in the car this weekend, with the Formula 2 champion having filled in for the injured Lance Stroll during testing. Stroll will still be the team's Plan A option for the season-opening race, but Drugovich has been named as the Canadian's backup in case he's unable to recover in time to compete following a recent bicycle accident. Alonso feels that as the teammate who will be working alongside him full-time this season, the team missed out on the testing feedback help he could give in pointing the team in a specific direction with the AMR23. "We missed him because some of my comments and my feelings about the car, we never knew if it was just me in a new team and a new car, or is it an Aston Martin thing that Lance could have spotted," Alonso explained. "We cannot do it without him, so I hope he can come back very soon." Although some are eager to play down expectations, there is no denying that Aston Martin has made a big step in the last 12 months. The AMR22 from last year was built with flexibility in mind to allow a concept change, should it turn out that there was a better option than the initial selection, and that's exactly what happened. There were still some compromises made in relation to the initial concept choice, but the car got better throughout the season and was very competitive in the majority of the later races. The AMR23 has been developed under technical director Dan Fallows and his fellow new recruits, including former Mercedes Aeroman Eric Blandon. As such, it essentially represents a design that was started from scratch in an effort to make a big step forward all at once. The team was determined to start 2023 with the best possible package for the obvious reason that development will eat into the cost cap. So why not throw everything you can into the launch spec? That's something that the group around Dan had really approached in a different way with the AMR23 to have an aggressive approach, said Craig. Because in the cost cap world, you cannot afford what we have tried to achieve last year. That you have to improve really over the year because the race intensity is high. The money you have to develop the car is really not high, so you have to start with a good baseline, and I think that was one of the objectives. The main things in F1 are always the same. Where do you improve? So you have to work on aerodynamics in the first place. You have to provide good feedback to the drivers so that they know that the car is predictable, that it's benign. So these are all areas that you concentrate on, and then you have to have a good mechanical platform. Funnily enough, it was some of Aston Martin's rivals that appeared to be most confident about their prospects. Even before the teams arrived at preseason testing, Red Bull's Christian Horner mentioned hearing about large numbers emerging from Aston Martin simulations. Evidently, these predictions appear to have come true based on their performance in testing. Of course, the true competitive order will not show itself until the Bahrain Grand Prix, but the Silverstone-based team's improvements have been evident to the Red Bull team's principal's eye. Yeah, I think they've made a big step, Horner said of Aston's progress. It looks like their concept of car has moved them forward, and they look like they're not too far away. So Fernando in particular looks very competitive. The consensus coming away from testing is that Red Bull appears to be the team to beat once again this season, with Max Verstappen having spoken confidently about the performance of the RB19 and getting straight to work during testing, with the team topping the times on 2 out of the 3 test days and showing solid reliability throughout. However, the competition for second and third place appeared to be much more unpredictable. While Aston Martin looks in position to be a podium threat, Ferrari may have an edge in terms of resources they can use to improve throughout the season. Mercedes is a bit more enigmatic for now, and it's really hard to tell if they've improved over the winter or if 2023 will be yet another disastrous year by their standards, given their confusing string of test results. As of right now, it appears that Aston Martin shouldn't be too concerned about any other teams. Although Alpine hasn't played their full card, they are unlikely to have made a significant advancement over the winter, and McLaren are nowhere near where they want to be. Of course, it's difficult to hide the excitement of Fernando Alonso potentially battling it out for wins this season. What do you think of Aston Martin though? Will they be able to fight at the front of the pack and live up to the hype? Please let us know down below. If you've enjoyed our work, consider liking, subscribing, and clicking the bell to be notified of new videos. Thank you for watching.